Then you got the 31st seed, Ayala. She gets a bye in the first round. She'll take on either Siegemund or Marchenko in the second round.
The air in Miami in late March doesn't just sit around you. It is a physical entity. It wraps itself around your throat like a wet towel, a suffocating, dense blanket of humidity that seems to have a weight, a presence. It's a predator that drains the electrolytes from your pores before you even step onto the hard court. A living, breathing environment that tests the absolute physical limits of the human body. But at the 2026 Miami Open, the weather, this oppressive, soul-sapping heat, is about to become the absolute least of anyone's concerns. The draw has just been released, and the tennis world is currently vibrating with a tension that you can practically feel through the screen. A low-frequency hum of anticipation that has completely, violently hijacked the narrative of the tournament. It's not just excitement. It's something deeper, something more primal. It's the sound of an impending collision. One specific matchup is already generating a level of buzz that eclipses the defending champions, eclipses the world number ones, and eclipses everything else on the schedule. We are looking at a collision course that feels significantly less like a standard second-round tennis match and more like a psychological thriller, a high-stakes game of emotional chess played out under the blinding, unforgiving Florida sun. Ayala, the 31st seed, the gritty, iron-willed rising star, has secured her first-round bye, but her path forward leads directly, unavoidably into a Category 5 hurricane. She is set to face off against Laura Siegemund. To call Laura Siegemund a tennis player is to fundamentally understate what she actually does when she steps inside a stadium. Siegemund is a master of the dark arts of professional sports. She is a puppet master, a saboteur, a player whose very name has become synonymous with controversy, disruption, and an uncanny, almost supernatural ability to completely dismantle her opponents from the inside out. She does not do this through superior stroke play. She does not overpower you with a blistering 120 miles per hour serve. She does not hit you off the court. No, Laura Siegemund beats you by breaking into your mind. She beats you by injecting a slow-acting poison into your psyche. She beats you through a calculated, systematic, and utterly ruthless breakdown of your psychological fortitude. While the matchup promises to be a spectacular clash of generations and styles, the physical side of the game, the forehands, the backhands, the footwork, is almost secondary. It's a footnote. This is shaping up to be a total mental war, a gladiatorial combat of focus, fought not with rackets, but with willpower. The question on everyone's lips, from the veteran commentators in the broadcast booths to the die-hard fans sitting up in the nosebleeds at Hard Rock Stadium, is incredibly simple, yet impossible to answer until the first ball is struck. How will Ayala handle the notorious, infuriating, and historically effective mind games of Laura Siegemund?
Level of conviction.
And Siegemund played the role of the victim when it didn't go her way.
Even less than a 0 because they treated me bad. Like, they treated me like I was a cheater, like I was, like, trying, sneaky ways to win this match or something. They treated me like I was a bad person. But, there are people who are throwing rackets, who are screaming, who are, like, making bad gestures toward the audience.
If you are new to the sport, or if you have somehow missed the last decade of WTA drama, you need to understand exactly who Siegemund is. She has long been one of the most polarizing, debated, and controversial figures in modern tennis. Her reputation isn't just built on her win-loss record. It's built on the smoldering wreckage of her opponent's focus. She doesn't just play the yellow felt ball. She plays the person across the net. She plays the chair umpire. She plays the crowd. And most importantly, she plays the clock. It is the worst-kept secret on the tour that her tactical game plan extends far beyond the white lines of the court. She is the undisputed reigning queen of the delay. She is known for using every microscopic loophole in the rulebook to slow down the pace of play to a glacial, agonizing crawl. She thrives on throwing her opponents out of their natural rhythm, forcing them to stand at the baseline, bouncing the ball, waiting and waiting and waiting until they are forced to marinate in their own thoughts, until the self-doubt begins to creep in, until they begin to overthink every single swing. She is a pioneer of the tactical shoelace tie, a master of the strategic towel break, a practitioner of the controversial, momentum-killing medical timeout. At the 2026 Miami Open, this matchup with Ayala will undoubtedly be the ultimate testing ground for these tactics. Talking about minor annoyances here, We are not talking about a player taking an extra 3 seconds to catch her breath. Siegemund's history of controversial actions is so deeply well documented, so widely discussed in locker rooms across the globe, that it has literally become the first line of her scouting report. To truly understand the storm that Ayala is walking into, we have to look at the blueprint of Siegemund's chaos. We have to look at the history. A key example, a match that still leaves a bitter metallic taste in the mouths of tennis purists, took place under the brightest lights in the sport. The U.S. Open, Arthur Ashe Stadium, the night session. Siegemund faced off against the pride of American tennis, Coco Gauff. Gauff was the golden girl, the phenomenal rising star, the player with the weight of an entire nation on her shoulders, and all the momentum in the world. But on that night in New York, Siegemund didn't just compete, she conducted an absolute masterclass in psychological disruption. She deliberately, meticulously sabotaged the tempo of the match. The American crowd is known for being loud, fast, and electric, but Siegemund turned that electricity into a weapon against Gauff. Whether it was taking an excessive and infuriating amount of time between points, requesting lengthy medical evaluations for phantom injuries that seemed to miraculously vanish the very second the umpire called time, or engaging in endless, pointless debates with the chair umpire over calls that weren't even close, Siegemund did everything in her power to ensure Coco Gauff never found her flow state. It was agonizing to watch. It was like watching a sports car stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. You could literally see the frustration radiating off Gauff. You could see her fast-twitch muscles cooling down, the explosive energy she's known for just seeping away. You could see the doubt creeping in as Siegemund walked at a snail's pace to grab her towel for the 50th time. When Gauff finally reached her breaking point, when she marched up to the net and called attention to this blatant, unapologetic gamesmanship, the official finally issued a time violation. The crowd erupted. But instead of correcting her behavior, instead of apologizing and speeding up, Siegemund executed her signature pivot. She launched into a full-scale tantrum. She played the role of the persecuted victim with an almost theatrical level of conviction, waving her arms, arguing, delaying the game even further to complain about being penalized for delaying the game. It was a vicious cycle of chaos. And then, in the post-match press conference, she sat down, looked the global sports media dead in the eye, and claimed her movements were simply slowed by the sheer physical intensity of the match, calling the crowd disrespectful and the violation deeply unfair. But anyone with eyes, anyone who has ever picked up a tennis racket, could see the truth. It wasn't fatigue. It was a weapon. It was a deliberate, cold-blooded tactic designed to hijack the match. And when the plan was exposed to the world, she used her own manufactured frustration to further distract her opponent. The drama, of course, did not stop in New York. The Siegemund playbook was thrown wide open once again at the 2026 Australian Open, where she was accused of a move that many in the tennis community considered the ultimate sign of disrespect. During a tightly contested match under the sweltering Melbourne sun, Siegemund stepped up to the baseline and served the ball while her opponent was clearly not ready. Her opponent had her back turned, racket down. In tennis, there is an unwritten code, a fundamental respect between competitors. You wait. You ensure your opponent is ready. Siegemund shattered that code. She fired the serve anyway. She won the point, but in doing so, she lost any remaining shred of goodwill from international fans. When her opponent rightfully demanded that the umpire intervene and replay the point, Siegemund didn't apologize. She didn't offer a let. Instead, she went on the offensive. She aggressively accused the official of bias, claiming they were unfairly favoring her opponent, insisting she was playing by the rules and that it wasn't her job to make sure her opponent was ready. The match had to be halted. Supervisors were called onto the court just to calm the situation down. This is the hallmark, the signature, of Laura Siegemund's career. Create total chaos, play the psychological game, and push it until the opponent cracks. Bend the rules until they are completely unrecognizable, and then cry foul the moment you are caught. She lives in the gray areas of the sport. She feeds almost vampirically on the sheer frustration of athletes who just want to play a clean, fast-paced, honorable game. But here is the massive twist in the narrative for Miami. This is why this specific match is the most anticipated showdown of the year. As Siegemund prepares to unpack her bag of tricks and unleash these toxic tactics once again, she is looking across the net at Ayala. And let me make this very clear to you, Ayala is not your average fragile rising star. She is not a rookie who is going to be blinded by the headlights of gamesmanship. Ayala is a player who has been forged in the absolute fires of adversity. She is someone who has been tested in the mental arena time and time again, often under crushing circumstances that would have completely broken a weaker player. Ayala has faced her fair share of nightmarish situations. And crucially, many of those situations involve the very authority figures, the umpires and referees, that Siegemund loves to manipulate. Ayala knows exactly what it feels like to face massive mental hurdles that have absolutely nothing to do with hitting a yellow ball over a net, and everything to do with the toxic environment surrounding it. She has stared extreme adversity dead in the face, and every single time the tennis world expected her to fold, every time the commentators counted her out, she proved that she possesses a mental fortitude that is practically made of titanium. Think back to the 2026 Australian Open qualifiers. This was not just a tournament for Ayala. This was a defining, career-altering crucible. She was already locked in a brutal high-stakes, physically exhausting match. Her career was on the line. The pressure was suffocating, and then the system itself seemed to turn against her. She was unfairly penalized by the referees. Points were taken away on bad calls. Critical decisions were replayed in a bizarre manner that seemed designed to stop her momentum and prevent her from advancing to the main draw. It was a nightmare scenario for any professional athlete, the kind of injustice that makes players smash rackets and lose control. But instead of crumbling, instead of letting that glaring injustice destroy her focus, Ayala did what she does best. She planted her feet. She stood her ground. She didn't passively accept the bad calls like a victim. She marched to the chair. She demanded a review. She looked the officials in the eye, unwavering, and fought tooth and nail for her right to a fair game. And in a monumental moment that stunned the crowd into silence, she forced a reversal. She beat the system. That wasn't just a win on the scoreboard, it was a massive, undeniable victory for her spirit. It sent shockwaves through the entire WTA tour. It proved that Ayala doesn't just rely on a heavy forehand or a powerful first serve. She has the raw, unfiltered psychological strength to take on the entire establishment when it's wrong. This exact refusal to be bullied, this demand for respect, is the precise mindset she will need when Siegemund inevitably starts her theatrical antics in Miami. And you have to understand, Ayala's resilience isn't a one-time thing. It's not luck. It's a deeply ingrained pattern. Remember her epic clash against Iga Swiatek? Facing the world number one, a multi-time Grand Slam champion, a dominant force in the sport, is enough to make most players crumble. But Ayala didn't. She played the match of her life, trading blow for blow, pushing Swiatek to the absolute limit. But once again, the universe tested her. The match was marred by questionable officiating decisions that threatened to shake her confidence. The pressure was immense. The stadium was roaring, a deafening wall of sound. The stakes could not have been higher. Yet in the middle of that storm, Ayala remained terrifyingly composed. A silent pillar of calm, she kept her focus tight, like a laser cutting through steel. She absolutely refused to allow external distractions, the bad calls, the noise, the sheer gravity of the moment, to penetrate her mental bubble. Even when the calls were wildly questionable, even when the momentum felt like it was being violently stolen by forces outside of her control, Ayala stayed level-headed. She didn't complain. She didn't throw her hands up. She simply walked back to the baseline, bounced the ball, and fought back. She rose above the obstacles with cold, calculating precision. This is what separates Ayala from the rest of the pack. While Siegemund may try her mind games, while she may attempt to frustrate Ayala with endless delays and psychological tricks, she is about to find out that Ayala is battle-hardened. She has been in the deepest, darkest trenches. She has dealt with unfair officiating and the crushing mental strain of facing the very best in the world. You cannot intimidate a player who has already survived the fire. But let's talk about preparation. What has been happening behind closed doors, away from the cameras, because this is where the real advantage begins to shift. Ayala hasn't just been in Florida hitting balls against a machine or running standard drills. She has been preparing specifically for Siegemund's brand of chaos. As part of her intense build-up to the Miami Open, she has been training extensively with João Fonseca. For those who don't follow the men's game closely, João Fonseca is a rising ATP phenom, known for his aggressive style, explosive racket speed, and mental toughness well beyond his years. So why Fonseca? Why bring in an ATP powerhouse to prepare for a veteran disruptor? Because Fonseca brings relentless intensity. His game forces you to stay completely locked in, or risk getting blown off the court. Training with him isn't about finding rhythm. It's about surviving pressure. This has helped Ayala sharpen her defensive skills, but more importantly, it has strengthened her mental discipline. Fonseca's game does not allow even a split second of lost focus. If you switch off for a moment, the point is already gone. That's exactly what makes this the perfect preparation for Siegemund. While Siegemund tries to slow things down, disrupt rhythm, and create frustration, Ayala has been training in the exact opposite environment. High speed, high pressure, constant intensity. She is conditioning her mind to operate at a higher level, to stay sharp no matter what. She's building a mental engine that cannot be stalled. This makes it incredibly difficult for Siegemund to pull her into that psychological trap. Ayala isn't just expecting the mind games, she's ready for them. She's trained for them. Her practice sessions have essentially become a laboratory for mental toughness. It's not just about technique, it's about staying composed when rhythm is broken, staying focused when things get chaotic. Imagine the drills: Fonseca intentionally slowing things down, disputing calls, creating distractions, just to test Ayala's reactions. It's all designed to prepare her for exactly what she's about to face. Fonseca's aggressive high-intensity style has helped shape Ayala into a more focused, unbreakable competitor. She's been sparring with a heavyweight, so when she faces a disruptor, she won't flinch. When the lights come on at Hard Rock Stadium and the match begins, this won't be about stats or shot selection. It won't be about first serve percentages or unforced errors. This will come down to one thing: who breaks first?